This is Tyler, your antisocial critic and the host of the AntiSocial Network, your number one source for anachronistic conversations online. Come join us each week to hear opinions from some of the best voices discussing entertainment, politics, religion, and modern life on the internet today, most of which you've never heard of, but I have. This week on Groupthink Hangouts, we're joined once again by Sarah Hargett. She's joined us at least, I think, once or twice at this point. I don't remember how many times we talked, but I think that we've definitely had her on before, and it's good to have her back. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm holding up. I'm drinking a lot of tea right now.
Yeah, I've got mine too.
What do you get? What do you drink? What are you drinking today? Oh, you're drinking the Leftist Tears mug.
Got some salty tears in there.
Salty tea sounds like a strange combination. Funny enough, I just had my Louder with Crowder mug up here a few minutes ago when I was drinking coffee, and now, unfortunately, I don't have it on me at the moment. But we almost had pairing mugs, but or in my case, an ashtray. But what you been up to lately? It's been a while since we've kind of talked.
I mean, everything, right? Just doing a lot of theater, doing more writing than I used to, but not as much as I'd like to, and watching movies at home.
Is the theater scene open near you right now?
There is a theater that's open near me, but you have to wear a mask in the lobby, and I'm that much of a stickler that I just don't want to go and wear a mask in the lobby, so I haven't gone yet.
Oh my! Are you performing or just viewing it?
Say again?
I knew you're an actor. I didn't know if you were performing at this point or if you just meant a movie theater.
We're close to a performance right now, but a lot of them had to be delayed because of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I actually went and saw C.S. Lewis on stage like a month before the COVID hit, and I'm glad I did because that was probably that might turn out to be the last play I ever saw in my life, and that's a good one to go out on. But I don't know if you've seen those or not, but there's like a couple plays touring the country that just have like one guy doing a monologue as C.S. Lewis.
That sounds pretty good.
Oh, it was wonderful. I'm glad I got to see it, but good grief. Do you think when do you think the theaters near you are gonna, or the acting theaters are gonna open near you?
I have no idea. Like, you can't tell with like the stuff that's like public and stuff. The things that I'm doing are more we're not advertising for the public and stuff like that, but we're still like getting an audience, like family and friends and coworkers and that kind of stuff.
So it's just underground acting essentially.
Yeah. So maybe maybe that's a good thing though,
Oh man, it's like
the little guys in there.
It's like speakeasies for COVID deniers. It's just wonderful. You wanna spend some time with your fellow human? Just hands up a pamphlet, runs away. So what is I don't know if we've talked since the beginning of COVID very much, but what has the lockdown been like for you? I know you said you've been watching a lot of movies, but how's it affected you and your family?
The main thing that changed for us, like, it's not a big deal for me because I live at home. I have two brothers and mom and dad in the house, so it's not like I felt lonely or anything. But we did stop going to church because our church closed. And then we found another church that doesn't require masks, but that was only like a couple months ago. So we stopped. We would always go shopping and out to eat on Sundays after church. So now we just like do that in the middle of the week or whenever we have time. And that's basically the only thing that's changed for as like a family.
How litigious is your state?
Say again?
How litigious is your state on the lockdowns?
I don't know. It's like you go to a grocery store and they're like, they have the mask signs and you don't wear them and no one bothers you, But then there's like Costco is like really strict about it and they won't let you in now unless you're wearing your mask. But then I wore a mask, went in, took the mask off, and nobody cared, or none of the employees cared. There was a teenage girl who got mad at me.
There's always the one person. Like, I think since this entire thing began, I think I've only been lectured maybe twice, or not even lectured, just someone just pointing me out in a crowd and saying like, your mask is slipping slightly below your nose, put it back. Or there was one little old lady right as it was happening in March. I went to Home Depot, and one little old lady is like, "Stay 6 feet away from me," and I was like, "Fine, crazy lady, I don't want to be near you anyway."
I feel like a lot of people are thinking that around me, but I'm like so bold and not wearing the mask at all that they're just like, okay, she's not gonna wear one. So they like glare at me, and I just like smile at them.
Oh man, I've got way too complimentary a personality. I just go with the flow way too easily. I'd love to be that one guy that just trolls people and does like Matt Christensen said, take a piece of tissue paper and tape it to your nose. That way, and say, "I'm wearing a mask."
Yeah. I never really thought that I would be that kind of person, because I usually go with the flow like all the time. But with a mask, I was just like, no, I do not want to wear this. I don't care if people get mad at me. I'm just not going to do it.
I'm glad that a lot of churches are pretty loose on that policy. Like I know my church at the moment, they're enforcing social distancing and they make you wear masks, which I get it. It's a lot of old people, but anytime I hear about a church where they don't do that, I feel a lot of respect from. Because obviously they have to be like officially no masks, but we're not going to enforce it. It's like I like when people are like, we'll obey the state up to a point, and then at that point you use your own judgment. I mean that's the way it should be. It's
yeah.
I mean, if it were just common sense, I wouldn't be bothered by all this. But it feels like I don't like the whole being forced to do it, and it doesn't help that there's so many people out there that just the moment you start complaining about it, they snap at you. Like, do you get yelled at on Twitter whenever you complain about it?
Selfish. Yeah, that's my favorite thing, is to be called selfish and unchristian by atheists.
Or even, and there are Christians. Like, I don't want to name drop anyone, but I remember once a couple months ago, I was just complaining about the masks and saying like, "Hey, this is hypocritical. Why are you guys being like this?" And he just responded, "Shut up and wear the mask." I'm like, I am wearing the mask. I am doing what you're telling me to. That doesn't mean I can't complain about it because it's clearly hypocritical.
Yeah, it's the least you can do, right?
And I know some people that just absolutely refuse to go back to do anything until they are allowed to not wear masks, but I don't know. It's rough not being able to actually go to church. Like even it was for months too. So.
Yeah, I really missed it when we stopped. I really got really frustrated with my church too, that we had to leave because they were like closed down. They did online services for forever, and then they started doing outside services, but then it got so cold that they couldn't do that anymore. And then they were like, well, we'll invite like this small group to attend the service, but we weren't members, so we didn't ever get invited. But they made us wear masks in the sanctuary anyway, so we wouldn't have gone. But it doesn't matter. But it just really frustrated me for some reason. But now the church we go to is like 500 people in this huge room, and none of us are wearing masks, and it's great. It's wonderful.
Oh man, what kind of church is it? Just non-denominational, or is it?
Gosh, I don't remember. It's the people who believe in the gifts.
The gifts?
They believe in speaking in tongues and prophecy and healing and stuff like that. I don't remember what they're called. I've never paid much attention to denominations.
Seventh Day Adventists?
Say again?
Seventh Day Adventists?
No.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. I know about the snake wranglers. I just don't know what they're
Assembly
called.
of God.
Huh?
Assembly of God?
Okay, yeah. That sounds about right. I don't think I've actually been to an Assembly of God church before, but
the only thing that I don't really like about it is the music is very loud and supposed to like evoke a lot of feeling, how you get the spiritual high and stuff. And I just kind of like, the straightforward, just hymns with really good lyrics,
Gosh, if I want a dopamine high, I just do drugs. I don't go to church for that. No.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm turning into such a grumpy old man for a 26-year-old. I mean, like, if it wasn't for the fact that I adore my pastor, I would have left my church, like, 2 years ago. Because it is, like... I tease him all the time about it, but it's It's basically like the Babylon Bee, the kind of stuff they make fun of, where you get the young hipster on stage and performing as like it's a hipster coffee house, and like,
Yeah.
why do so many hipsters become guitar soloists at churches? It's like
If
they
you're
know
a
where they're.
Christian, that's the only thing you can do.
That or you become like a barista at Starbucks. I guess there's only really two career paths when you've chosen that identity for yourself.
Well, the church I'm going to now has a coffee shop in the church.
Oh man, I mean, I remember years ago I used to volunteer at a mega church that was that big, that they had like a gift shop and stuff like that, and I don't know, there's something a little sketch about selling things within the church. That's
Yeah, I don't really like that either. Although I don't know if they actually sell coffee there for money or not.
usually they do. Like there's another mega church near me that has like they double as the local commuter stop. So if you want to like park in their parking lot, and they'll shuttle you to the nearest train station, which I get why they do that, but they opened a coffee shop specifically for that, and I was always like, it's like that scene in The Simpsons where Mr. Burns turns the church into like a commercialized hell, and there's just one guy in the corner going, "Money changed, get your money changed in the corner of the temple." And the main characters are like, that is so wrong.
I agree. I don't think the church that we're going to now is like quite there yet, but it does have that tendency. The like the whole music area is like light show and like all that. Kind
Yeah.
of stuff. The youth group goes down to the front and like hops, while they're singing.
Well, some of that's cute, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm getting so grumpy now. Part of me just wants to find like a little Baptist church with like 5 old couples and just kind of hear my quiet homily and then go home. Like that's if whenever I eventually have my family, that's probably going to be what I do. It's just like, okay, what's the quietest church in town? This is your dad doesn't like noise anymore, kids. He's not going to put it up with it anymore. I'm going to be such a grumpy old man when I actually am an old man. Gosh.
Getting a head start on it.
So what tea are you drinking then?
It's Earl Grey.
Oh, nice. I just finished off my apple cider, locally sourced domestic tea. So,
Fancy.
well, it's something, but it's good. So, and I've taken it a habit to making large amounts of it for myself because I drink a lot. So, anyway, what's that?
Is it caffeinated?
Thankfully, no. So I tend to switch from caffeinated coffee to decaf tea about midday. That way I don't explode. But
Yeah.
because if
I
I drink,
can't even coffee. Or
Earl Grey is a good replacement for coffee. So how have you been reacting to everything lately? I mean, it feels like the world's just been on fire for like 4 months now. Even worse than before. Like spring was insane. Summer got worse. Fall got intense, and then the winter is just escalating every single month. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like stressed out or anything, but I also have kind of stopped paying attention to the news.
yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
other than what I pick up off Twitter, I haven't been watching litigiously for a while, but that doesn't mean it doesn't leak to me. So it's really hard to ignore it. And especially with everything that's happened recently, like the media, you can tell the media just salivating every time something bad happened, being like, "Oh, now we get to declare a third of the country as domestic terrorists."
Yeah.
And you're lucky. You live. Do you live in the suburbs or like in the country? Because I'm a few miles from the city. Something goes down, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. We're, I guess, suburbs. We're kind of like our neighborhood is like a dirt road and like farmland kind of area, but like we're like 5 minutes from the suburbs and like the highway, so it's like
So you're relatively safe when the nukes start flying.
we're like in a hidden little pocket there.
Yeah, you're gonna be like you're not gonna get hit by the bomb. You're just gonna have to deal with the radiation when Kamala Harris starts nuking swing states. But I don't know. I mean, back when the rioting was happening during the summer, there was one about 10 minutes from my house, and I don't know where the footage at this point is, but I had to find it because it was nutty watching the local Barnes and Noble just get its crap broken into. I mean, and I don't even know where to start with everything that's happened. And I know you've been riding hard on the election stuff on Twitter lately, but it feels like
Yeah.
that's just whatever virtue that had has just become a lost cause, and it's never going to be addressed. But
I don't know. I feel like I'm weirdly optimistic. I don't know why. I guess like my dad is really into like prophecies and stuff, and he was following a lot of prophets who were like saying that Trump was going to get 2 terms and he was going to win this election. And then we're all like, well, are they wrong? But then also they're right because he did win, and then they cheated to get Biden. And they're also, all the same prophets are saying that there's going to be like a revival, and that we're going to get tired of watching people get arrested and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like, it's not really over yet, you know?
yeah, I mean, the benefit of Biden is that it's going to expose a lot of the open hypocrisies that have been floating
Yeah.
around. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that the rioting can happen for 6 months, and the White House can get attacked by rioters, and all this that most of the major state houses can get damaged by rioters, and small businesses are destroyed, and then one conservative riot happens, and suddenly like it's the new 9/11. Like I don't know how you lay just the naked hypocrisy of that anymore barren than that. Like it's so clear that they aren't putting any credibility into their analysis, especially the media. They're not putting any credibility into their analysis, and I won't be surprised if, like, give it 2 months' time, if another big protest happens on the right, Biden probably ends up signing like Patriot Act 2 and starts drone striking like Middle America, and like imagine if Biden starts using all of the same rhetoric that Bush used for the war on terror, but he's using it to talk about like Trump voters. I mean, I would find it funny, but I'm also like, that would also be just like the most ironic turn of in history. But imagine if they actually tried that. Like, just it's not that far fetched.
Yeah. And at that point, like even now, like you have to be just like the biggest idiot not to see what's going on, at least a little bit. Like to see the hypocrisy that's going on. And you can just kind of have to wonder, like if they're being hypocrites about that, what else are they doing, you know?
Yeah, and you can tell it's just deeply ingrained at this point. I mean, whatever benefits Biden over Trump has, it's definitely creating this massive like it's letting the people who run the country just kind of do what they want, and I'm uncomfortable with that given everything that's happened in the last 4 years. Like we're rewarding really bad people who clearly lied to us for a long time and giving them all the power they didn't deserve. Like I think even like the runoff election in Georgia disturbed me really a lot for that reason, just because it's clear that like, oh, the people you apparently you can lie your way into power, and we're just going to ignore that. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And I hate to be the doomsayer, because a couple of my friends are like, Tyler, stop doom posting, stop. I mean, like, obviously, the power will swing back to us in some way. It's not like they can just like make it illegal to vote for Republicans or anything crazy, but it definitely feels like, what is this going to look like going forward? Because at the moment, the Trump movement does not want to talk to the Republican Party. They're not on speaking terms, and that gives infinite leeway to the left to do whatever the heck they want.
Yeah, I think it's at this point it's just a matter of like getting the people to see what's going on. And then I don't know, it seems like once people are awake, then everything else would just fall into place. And then I don't know. At some point there's gonna have to be like a turn.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there will, unless this is like the build up to like the end of the world or something, which
Yeah. Who
distinct
knows, maybe.
there's a distinct possibility the world ends in 4 years. Who knows? But I don't know. It depends on your attitude about the tribulation and all that jazz. But that's a whole
Yeah.
different rabbit hole. But I don't know. I'd like to think that there's reason to be optimistic about all this because I mean insanity cannot endure forever. Eventually, it falls apart just because
Mhm.
your internal contradictions weigh it down on you, and that's definitely true of the left. The left is institutionalizing contradictions right now, and
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how that House of Cards collapses or when. It just feels like that we're overdue for some sort of them getting their comeuppance.
Yeah. It feels like it's been building up to this for like a whole year now.
Well, I don't even know what it's building up to though, because it felt like what happened with the around Washington and the inauguration. That didn't even feel like the climax so much as it felt like it's like when people talk about World War II and they're like there was like this tension right before the war happened. Like it feels like something weird is in the air, and that
Yeah.
it's probably going to come out all at once. I don't know what it is. I mean, everyone's like, oh, it's Civil War II, but I don't know if I believe that. Just because I don't think that I don't think most of the states have the actual goal to be like, yeah, we're going to secede and join the Republic of Texas. I mean,
Yeah.
I would like
Yeah,
that. Be funny to me.
Definitely a build up to something. It's just like no one knows what it is. We just
Yeah.
all feel like there's a breaking point coming, but it hasn't got here yet.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like anyone who has power really cares about trying to fix that breaking point, and that's what really concerns me.
Well,
Is-
it needs to.
What's that?
It needs to break.
And I'm curious what that looks like though, because I mean, one of my friends said it would probably look like Northern Ireland during their conflict, where basically you just have people running around acting like domestic terrorists and just killing each other because they can't get along at all. But I don't want to go that far. I don't want the country to be to have that many problems to it. But I don't know. It just feels like they're. I think when Biden got into office, the left thought, okay, now we can officially write off the extremes on both sides. Now we don't need them. We'll throw a little red meat to the social justice warriors, and then we'll be done. But I don't think that you can just keep however big a percentage both of those two sides represent with calm when they're clearly not happy. I mean, there were freaking anti-Biot Antifa riots in Portland the day of the inauguration, for goodness sake. They're not happy with him.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the breaking point is necessarily going to end like is necessarily going to be like a war or any kind of violence necessarily. Like on the positive side, the breaking point could be just people realizing what's going on and like saying no to it, you know? Like people on the left waking up and seeing the right thing, and there being an awakening, like the prophets have been saying that there's going to be an awakening and a revival and that kind of stuff.
What kind of revival do you think? Religious or?
Yeah, like a Christian revival. That's what they're saying. There's supposed to be one of the biggest that our country's ever had, and it's like supposedly coming soon.
We are overdue for one. I was at the Billy Graham Museum last year, and they made the case that about once a century there's a massive religious revival in the United States. And I think we're just about at that point where that's probably due. But
Yeah.
I mean, when the last one was what, the 1960s ish? I mean, I don't know what the best way to put when they'd want to like date whatever Billy Graham his ministry could be called, but. I mean, that would be the most encouraging thing, is just if there were a lot of people that are like suddenly like, well, politics is messed up. We're just gonna go off on our own and figure out this stuff without it, because clearly politics isn't gonna fix any of these problems. But
Yeah, that would be nice. So maybe, who knows?
what kind of prophets does your dad listen to? I don't know a lot of modern day prophecy people.
I don't know. He never really says their names when he's talking to me about them. He never really shows me the videos either. He just kind of like relays what they're saying. There's one lady that's like an older lady that has like pink hair, and he's always like the pink-haired prophet. And he's like, I wonder why she has pink hair, because it's so weird for a Christian to have pink hair. Usually it would be like some liberal feminist person or something. But I don't know. I don't know any of their names, so they're just saying.
So it's not the 700 Club, as you're telling me. It's not.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
That's curious. I didn't even know that there were people that tried to consider themselves prophets anymore. It's one of those things you just don't. I never hear about anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely not popular anymore. But my dad's kind of like into the mysticism of Christianity, the spiritual side, and he does like faith healing and stuff like that too.
That's interesting. I guess that makes sense for Assemblies of Christ. Like I said, I've never been to one, so I don't exactly know what they teach. Although I know that can be a sticking point for some people. I mean, there's a lot of people that tend to think speaking of tongues is one of those things that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, it's one of those things like, I don't know. I've never tried.
Yeah, but he's been into it before we started going to that church anyway.
Okay. What's his background then? What was he raised in?
He was raised Methodist, I think, and he was not a Christian. Well, he was born again. He was born again when he was 12, but he didn't really like understand it or anything, and he got into what's that? Like the spiritualism but non-Christian kind of stuff.
Occult?
Not really. I don't know. What's the name for it?
New Age stuff?
Yes, New Age kind of stuff. In the 70s, he did that. And then kind of like realized, like he got saved, I think, listening to Jesus Christ Superstar.
I have a friend whose mom has that same story.
It was like he just had like a really bizarre like arc and stuff. But he was saved when he was younger. He just kind of like explored a lot of really weird stuff and then came back around to God and like like in a good way. But then he still is like connected to the spiritual side of Christianity more than most people would be, I'd say. So that's pretty cool.
That's interesting. I don't know much about that side. I know that like on the Jewish side of things they have the Kabbalah and stuff, so there is like an official mysticism on that side of the aisle, but I'm not sure what the official Christian version of that would be called. I'm just thinking out loud, so forgive me if I'm just kind of wandering, but
yeah.
So what do you think the rest of the year is going to end up looking like then? I mean, I'm already seeing the 2021 is worse than 2020 memes drop.
Yeah.
I mean, I was saying like the other day on Twitter, is like, this is what you call an exponential growth curve, where everything just ramps up more and more and more, and then the things just start going like 45-degree angle up until you basically flip upside down at that point.
Yeah. I really don't see why everyone thought that 2021 was going to be better than 2020. Like,
people have been saying that since like 2016. Like, I am so tired of every single person in the world being like, "Wow, this was the worst year of my life." Really? You just said that the last year. You've said it every year for the past 6 years. What?
Yeah.
Maybe you just don't like being alive. Maybe that's the problem, is that you're blaming the years.
You just need to change your perspective and stop like thinking that like the years are gonna like bless you with goodness for no reason or whatever.
It's like
I had a fine 2020. It was a good year. Like I learned a lot and stuff.
I know a lot of people who said that 2020 was their best year. It's not because of what happened outside their house. It's because they handled their own situation really well. It's like, oh, I got all my projects done. I was accomplished. I was published at different places. I built my YouTube channel up. Like that. Yeah. That's all you can do, and that's all you're expected to do. Don't tie your emotional well-being to the news.
Exactly.
I mean,
or who's president?
That too. I mean, well, I will admit to being guilty about that, but I didn't even vote for Trump. That's the thing. It's like, I'm not a Trumpkin, but I'm like, freaking Democrats. What's that?
You didn't vote for Trump in this election?
I won't admit to voting for Trump in this election, but I didn't vote for him in 2016. So I have a reputation to uphold. I'm sorry, but
Shouldn't have done that.
unfortunately, as the man said, we live in a world filled with liberals, so we have to we have to take our blows. But I mean, yeah, I wasn't on the Trump train initially. It's one of those things where I was very skeptical of what he was doing, and I got used to him over time, but I still get why people don't like him. I mean, you know,
It's just that when people are like, I don't like his personality, therefore I will never vote for it. And I'm like, what about what he did? And they're like, yeah, what he did was good, but I'm still not gonna vote for him.
I hear that so often. It's funny. It's like, man, I like what he does. I just want him to shut up. Like, I don't think I know a single one of his, like, actual supporters, or actually, that's not true. I know a couple people that really like the rhetoric. But in my personal life, 90% of the people that voted for him are like, you know, if he took his Twitter away from him, he'd be great.
But just let him be great however he is. Like, who cares what he says? It's not gonna affect you.
Do you think he
What
gets...
does affect you.
So this is probably going to get released about a week or two out. Do you think he gets, unless they successfully impeach him in the Senate, do you think he gets reelected in 2024, or even tries to run?
Yeah, I'd vote for him.
Well, yeah. Are you in a red state or a blue state?
I think it's a red state right now, but we're definitely in a blue area. Like all our leaders and mayors and governors and all that.
There you go. Your state would probably vote for Trump then. Did
Yeah,
they?
We went Trump this election. I think we went Trump last election too.
Yeah, and it depending on what ends up happening, and because of the mass migration happening right now, there are so many Democrats that are like, they're gonna turn Texas blue. Over Texas's dead body, you are, but.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, at that point, they restart the Texan Inquisition, and they start kicking people out of their homes. But
That would be great.
you know that's gonna happen, right? I mean, freaking AOC, like 2 weeks ago on Twitter, was like, the South is not Republican. It's really Democratic states that are being held hostage, which.
You see, everything that comes out of her mouth is total crap.
Well, that's the thing. I think she means it, and that's what she wants to do. So it's basically, oh, we're gonna recolonize the South with all of the people that are displaced in the cities. They're gonna turn the states blue, and then the people that are there are just gonna take it. And I'm just telling you, man, the South does not like it when you do that to them.
I know.
My mom moved out. Has been spending a lot of time down in Alabama. One of the first thing her neighbors asked him was, "You're moving up from Chicago, are you? What are you guys?" "Oh, we're Republican." That's good.
Okay.
They don't take kindly to strangers down there, but but yeah, I swear, if that's what I think the Democrats want to do is we're gonna move all the people out of California to the, or not even they're trying to do that. It's just that there's so many people organically leaving those states because they're awful that it's just going to change the demographics of the states, and it's going to cause a huge upheaval for the next couple elections.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if
there's awakening and everyone turns Republican.
Well, there's that. I mean, I like the idea that secretly everyone is actually a Republican, and that we can just convince them with the sheer power of our superior arguments. But unfortunately, we are living in a society right now, and that's the Democrat. I don't think the Democrats are going to allow that for the meantime.
Yeah.
So I think, which in some ways is kind of what you have to let happen. You got to let them. It's Burke, as Burke said, "Example is the school of mankind. He shall learn it no other." And society needs to learn what happens when you give Democrats all of the power, and they need to feel it.
And then they'll be like, "Wait a minute, that was a stupid idea."
Yeah, I mean, there's already a bunch of people on Twitter I've been followed at least one Biden regret page that's just collecting all of the Biden regret. It's like, I didn't vote for this. Yes, you did.
What you voted for? Yeah.
I don't know. There's some people that still think he's going to be moderate, and I'm just like, Not at this rate. I mean, I mean, maybe now that he's done with his executive order binge, he's gonna sit on his thumb, which would be nice. But
Yeah.
I mean,
It's time for him to be assassinated and Kamala to come in, huh?
oh gosh, that's about as dark as I've joked. But I mean, like, this is the I was joking to a friend of mine a couple weeks ago. Like, here's what's gonna happen: Biden's gonna get assassinated during the inauguration by a Trump supporter. Kamala Harris, Trump supporter, yes, JFK style. But then Kamala Harris takes over. Kamala Harris declares quarter of the country to be domestic terrorists. Kamala Harris begins drone striking the American citizens under the Patriot Act 2, Electric Boogaloo, and it just goes down the hill from there, and right wing protests begin happening again. Things then they use that as an excuse. It just keeps going in circles. But I don't know. I genuinely hope we don't end up going down the path of war, just because I don't see a more way for that to happen.
Yeah.
Even though my internal nihilist finds it very, very funny.
In theory, not in practice.
What's that?
In theory, but not in practice. Right. You can think about it and it's funny, but if it happens, that wouldn't be so funny.
Well, the important thing is I'm not there when it happens, so I don't get in trouble. That's how the secret to it. It's like the rest of you can do that. wherever Q Shaman is now, I don't know. He's probably in jail, but he was the guy that dressed up as the barbarian during the riot. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he calls himself Q Shaman, so I guess he's some sort of like pagan spiritualist who believes that Q is going to liberate the Earth through mysticism. Which
Who is Q? From Star Trek?
The the QAnon conspiracy.
Oh, okay.
Like that, there's I don't know the whole detail. I think it's a weird conspiracy theory. I guess that their idea was that there was someone inside the White House that was secretly leaking information about like the great pedophilic conspiracies that Trump was destroy, and evident as it clearly turned out, Q was not in charge of anything. So if there was a guy, it was clearly for naught. So, but there's a bunch of aging baby boomers who are like, Q knows the truth. For whatever reason, the media picked up on that as like the most important thing is like, this is the conspiracy, the Q people. I'm like,
it's like they latch onto whatever sounds kind of weird, you know.
Yeah, I don't even know how many people actually believe that conspiracy. I think it's like a couple.
Like no one.
Well, enough people to fill a riot, but that's about it. You don't need you don't need a lot of people to make crap like that happen. You're like, I mean, the famous saying was that there were only 3% of Americans fought in the American Revolution, so. All it takes is a couple very angry people and a camera, and you get stuff done. So, or you cause massive setbacks to your movement and embarrassing it to the point where it divorces and permanently gives the left a new permanent supermajority, which I don't want them to do. But do you think that the Patriot Party becomes real? Have you heard about that?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, at this point, I'm not even, like, guessing at anything. I'm just really, really, really curious to see how...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've said before, I don't try to question the future because I would have lost every single one of the bets I would have made over the past 4 years if I had guessed the future. But, I mean, it's just fun. It's fun to speculate just because I'm like, what's the craziest thing I could think of? Maybe that's what's going to happen. Did I lose you? I don't see you all of a sudden. Hold on. I don't see you all of a sudden. I can't hear anything. Okay, I'm just gonna try. I guess I'm just gonna try to reset the call real quick or something. Yeah, the call just killed itself for some reason. I don't know why.
I lost my internet. Sorry.
I was gonna say the government knows we're talking about them. Anyway, we've been going for about 40 minutes. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or do you want to wrap soon?
You want to hear about my friend who went to the Capitol?
Your friend was your friend at the Capitol protest?
Well, he went to the speaking. He didn't actually get to the protest, the rioting part. He wasn't at the rioting.
Sure, let's get a scoop on this.
It's very interesting. He went and then he came back and like had a dinner party so that we could all like hear his experience because it was very interesting. So they went and they were going in front of the White House to hear the speakers and stuff. And he said that it was like the biggest crowd that he'd ever been in his life. They were packed, shoulder to shoulder, chest to back, like squeezed in while they were there, listening to the people talk. And people would like try to come through, and literally, you couldn't because there was no space anywhere, like anywhere. It was crazy. People were like having panic attacks and stuff. There were like people up in trees, and everywhere that you could feel a space, there was people. But there was like this TV speaker thing on a truck, and it had like those bike rack things around it to block it off so you couldn't get too near it. So there was like a little extra space between those rails and the truck. And people were like packed right up against the rails, but not one single person ever stepped over the rail to go to like fill up that space, even though there was like extra space. And he was like, how would people who were like that go and like break into the Capitol? You know, like it's just not like it's not what those people do, you know. So but then they listened to Trump speak, and then they had to walk down to the Capitol for, I think there was supposed to be like some kind of protest there anyway. So they were all like walking down, and it took like 40 minutes. And when they got there, the riot was already in like full swing. So he was like, if anyone actually went to the riot, they would have had to leave while Trump was actually still speaking. So there's another like inconsistency. So from his like testimony on and all those like things, I am like 100% convinced that the riot was like orchestrated by like Antifa or the police or whatever, and that any of the Trump supporters who were actually in it were just kind of like, you know, drawn in. Were like he said that the police were like opening the barriers and like saying you can go in, and then when they went in, they started throwing gas bombs at them and stuff. It was like, I don't know. It just seemed so off to me, and like from that, I just like completely 100% it was like orchestrated.
I mean, I would believe it personally that a lot of that was authentic, just because I viscerally understood why so many of them were frustrated with what was going on. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was a fraction of them that really were that violent, we're gonna go smash the Senate and just destroy it. But I'm sure I don't get the sense that majority of people there were involved with that.
Yeah, like I can see if you like have the opportunity to go in and smash stuff, and that's what everyone else is doing, then you're like, yeah, I'm angry, I want to smash stuff. But I don't feel like if there hadn't been any kind of orchestration and like them actually wanting people to riot, then I don't think it would have happened just with Trump supporters being there. Like something had to like step over the edge, and then people followed because people are idiots, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard lots of individual stories of people saying like the Antifa were the instigators and they were the ones leading the crowd, but it's really hard to judge. I mean, if I have any reason to be skeptical at all, it's simply because the left is just owning the events of this in just a way I've never seen them do. Like, exactly. They love... Like, they there's so many people I get who are like, this is disturbing, I can't believe the right would do this. But at the same time, I just watch so many leftists talk about this, and they are salivating over what happened. Because now they get to do... Now they can totally go after everyone they hate with impunity, especially AOC. and they're loving it. Like, it's clear they whatever legitimacy they had in saying that rioting is the language of the unheard, and we have to understand protesters and only talk to the peaceful ones. I don't believe a word they say that regards that anymore, because now it's like, oh, well, it's not, they're not our rioters, it's their rioters, so it's either it's all bad or it's all not. It's one or the other. And yeah. I don't know. It's very frustrating trying to take it seriously, especially with the way people are reacting to it. I mean, I was just driving through Chicago a couple weeks ago, and there were, like, they had electronic billboards that someone had put up that were saying, like, do you know anyone that was at the Capitol Hill protest? Tell the FBI if you do. I'm like, I'm in Chicago! Like, they're asking for leads halfway across the country for asking people to rat each other out. Like, did your friend go to the riot? Let the government know. I'm like, what the heck kind of crap is that? Like,
so creepy.
Yeah! I'm like, what the heck? It's like, this is some, like, Fed crap here. I'm like... And it's weird, too, is like... Really, the only... I don't even know... The media keeps saying, like, oh, 5 people died. Who? Other than Ashley Babbitt, I don't know the story of any of the other people. Do you know anything about them?
About who?
The 5 people that died at the protests?
Oh. I know one of them was just a heart attack from someone who was, like, stressed out, but wasn't actually, like, near anything.
I've heard that, but...
He was shot, and then there was a police officer that was, like, beaten to death. And that's all I know.
Yeah, and it's concerning to me that I don't know the names or the what the people that actually died were doing. And it's kind of telling that that's the case. So obviously we have the footage of Ashley Babbitt getting shot. So we know that she was trying to get right into the room, climbed open, and then the guy shot her in the neck. But we don't know the other ones. I'm like, if their death is relevant, their deaths are relevant enough, evidently, that they wanted to have a body count, but not relevant enough that they wanted us to know the rest of the details. I'm like, then what the heck is the detail?
That just, like, had a heart attack because he was, like, too close to people.
And
he was, like...
And that's awful. Like, I don't like the fact that emergency vehicles couldn't get in there.
Yeah, it's not like that could happen anytime, not just during a riot.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I was always raised to be skeptical of conspiracy theories. I take everything with a grain of salt, but my gut instincts have just been flaring for months, and I'm just like, there's a lot I'm worried about. Even though my intellectual side is like, keep it at bay, keep it at bay, keep it at bay. My heart's just like, Viva la revolution! But yeah, do you have anything you want to wrap on, or do you want to just kind of call it there?
Nothing in particular.
All right, it was fun to just kind of shoot the crap. So I appreciate you coming on again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're always welcome on. So have a good day.
All right, see ya.
The AntiSocial Network is a Groupthink Productions podcast. Editing, producing, and hosting are by Tyler Hummel, artwork by Crystal Cowley, and original music was composed by Melissa Lafira and the late Dan Smolla. Like, subscribe, and please let us know what you think about the show in the comments below if you'd like to see anyone interesting be a guest on the show. Thank you for listening.